All right, Judy, over to you.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us for FCSS 101 tonight. My name is Judy Smith. I'm with the City of Edmonton FCSS program, and I've been involved in FCSS for about 15 years in a leadership role. So I've been really involved provincially on the association board, as well as Directors Network, which is a committee of directors that look to help with educational learning for all the FCSS directors throughout our province. So I'm happy to help share some information with you tonight, and we'll do our best to fill you in on what FCSS is and what we're trying to do, and look forward to your questions. Please be patient with us. Courtney and I are both a little nervous with over 100 people registered tonight, and we've never done this online. So we're looking forward to sharing with you. And I'll pass it over to my co-presenter, which is Courtney.
Thanks, Judy. Hi, everyone. I'm Courtney Rippin-Kaufman, and I'm the Director for Community Preventive Initiatives with Seniors, Community, and Social Services. And I've only been with the FCSS program for just under 2 years. So it's always, I think I learn something every time I even go through this presentation. And it's just such a great program and such amazing people. So thank you so much for having us here today. I also wanted to introduce Christy. She's the manager with our program. Christy, if you just wanted to introduce yourself.
Hi, thanks, Courtney. Just got to find the unmute button in Zoom, used to Teams. So hi, I'm Christy Prout. I'm the manager of the FCSS program. So kind of a new position to the department. I've been here about 10 months, and just like Courtney, learning every day, and happy to meet everyone. And yeah.
Thanks. So Melissa, can we take it away? Perfect. So the purpose of FCSS 101 is to review the main elements of the FCSS program. So today we're going to tell you about some of the history of FCSS, provide some details about the Act and regulation, as well as the accountability framework. We'll also provide some details about the provincial prevention priorities and the role that FCSS plays in addressing them. We'll also explain the governance structure and the partnership between the Government of Alberta and the FCSS-AA. And then we'll go into some greater detail about how municipalities administer the program outcome model, and what types of programming are eligible to be funded through FCSS. And then, as Melissa mentioned, there'll be time for questions at the end. I'm just realizing that on the screen, I can't see hands or anything. So if you put your hand up, unfortunately, I don't think we'll be able to see you till the end. So I'll start with a bit of the history of the FCSS program and the program's mandate. So the program started in 1966 when the Government of Alberta wanted to introduce a prevention program to support Albertans to move toward greater independence and resilience. The program's more than 55 years in operation has really created a wealth of collective experience and real passion amongst the people working in it. The program's an 80-20 funding partnership between the Government of Alberta and participating municipalities or Métis settlements, where the province funds 80% and municipalities fund 20% of the program. And it's important to note that many municipalities contribute more than the required 20%. The FCSS programs offer prevention or intervention strategies at the earliest opportunity to help individuals and families better respond to life's challenges, enhance their social well-being, and prevent a range of social issues. FCSS funding can be used to address the root causes of social problems such as homelessness, mental health and addiction, poverty, and family and sexual violence. And it can also be used to help seniors stay in their homes. It's the only program in Canada that addresses prevention across the lifespan from early childhood to seniors. Oh, there we go. That's the right slide. A key principle of the FCSS program is local responsibility for priority setting and resource allocation. The program is really based on the understanding that municipalities and Métis settlements are in the best position to identify their community's needs. The province provides funding and guidance around desired outcomes, and municipalities and Métis settlements decide how to allocate the funding to best meet the needs and priorities within the community, within the FCSS mandate, accountability framework, and parameters of the legislation. The FCSS regulation requires programming to be preventive in nature, with the goal of avoiding the need for more costly intervention in the future. The program is also based on volunteerism. The regulations require that local programs promote and facilitate the involvement of volunteers. And the focus on volunteerism has a significant impact in communities. And if you look on the next slide, in 2022, more than 54,675 volunteers contributed almost 1.5 million hours of volunteer support. Using minimum wage, the support provided by volunteers equals an investment of $22.4 million in labor costs. And what I think is so amazing about this is an increase from 2021, when approximately 47,780 volunteers contributed almost 1.3 million volunteer hours. So FCSS really creates these volunteer opportunities and can support other organizations in the community as well to recruit, train, and recognize their volunteers. So I'm going to turn it over to Judy, who will tell you about the accountability framework and how FCSS programs apply it.
Thanks, Courtney. So in addition to the legislation, the program is guided by the FCSS accountability framework. You can go to the next slide, Melissa. The framework was a collaboration between the FCSS Association of Alberta, municipal associations, and the government of Alberta, who came together with the intention of providing guidance for both the ministry and local FCSS programs in designing and in delivering preventive social services that fit Albertans' needs now and in the future, and to improve the overall understanding of the program. The FCSS accountability framework provides a common definition for prevention to guide both local FCSS programs as well as the province. Before this accountability framework, there was no common definition. People just created the definition they felt met their needs. And so now we have something common that we can all work from. The accountability framework also gives direction on provincial prevention priorities and strategies that are intended to guide the work of local FCSS programs, while ensuring communities are able to make decisions about local programming based on the identified needs in their own community. It outlines a clear governance structure with roles and responsibilities for both the government of Alberta and participating municipalities and Métis settlements, and includes a streamlined outcomes model and key performance measures to demonstrate the impact and value of FCSS in supporting prevention. These measures will help us to tell the story of important work that FCSS does in communities individually, but also across the province collectively. So I wanted to take a minute to talk about the definition of prevention, which is on our next slide. Because while the regulation requires FCSS programs to be preventive in nature, as I said before, it did not provide a definition of prevention. And so the accountability defines prevention, and you can see it on the screen, that it's a proactive process that strengthens the protective factors of individuals' families to promote well-being, reduce vulnerabilities, enhance quality of life, and empowers them to meet the challenges of life. I want to explain what that means, because it's got some words that aren't words that we always use commonly day to day, but they are.
Is it just me, or did Judy freeze for everyone?
I think she froze. And then,
oh, you're back.
Oh, there you are. You're back.
Someone made a comment about they couldn't see the slide, so. But my internet does seem to be cutting in and out, so I apologize. I'll do my best. So as I was saying, hopefully before I froze, that some of the words that we have in the definition aren't all that common. So I wanted to explain what those meant. So risk factors They're conditions or behaviors that increase the likelihood of harm. Some examples are that someone has no sense of belonging, there's a loss of culture, lack of social connection, poor parenting skills, lack of social networks, or systems coordination. So those are all things that are risk factors. And what we want to do through our programming in FCSS is to enhance the protective factors, which are conditions or attributes to help mitigate or eliminate risk leading to improved well-being. So when we look at risks, I mentioned some of the protective factors would be positive self-worth and identity, exposure to elders and ceremony, parenting skills, easy access to appropriate supports, positive school and neighborhood environments, and reduction of system barriers. So it's just the way to prevent people from falling into those bad situations. So when we look at prevention, next slide, please, Melissa. You can see prevention falls along a continuum, and the services and supports offered through local FCSS programs must focus on the primary and secondary prevention areas. That last area, and I'll talk about it a bit, the tertiary, is more the intervention pieces that happen with other areas and other ministries. So primary prevention programs and services, they address the root causes of social issues and can focus on the general population or a specific targeted population. Promotes protective factors in the physical and social environment, including social relationships. And they can include awareness programs, as well as programs that enhance connections among community organizations and promote community volunteerism. The secondary prevention programs and services are addressing issues at an early stage, and that's where we're really targeting a group perhaps, or an at-risk population. These secondary prevention programs strengthen the capacity of individuals and communities to prevent or reduce risk factors and build resilience, and can include connecting those in need with appropriate resources and skill development. And then when I said the tertiary, that falls out of our mandate, so it's outside our mandate. These activities address immediate needs and include providing direct assistance such as food and shelter. So that's covering basic needs. It might be child intervention, those different more intensive needs within the community. The prevention programs and services offered through local FCSS programs tackle the root causes of social issues through preventive work. They reduce risk factors and build resilience and are intended to support anyone that needs help. We're all vulnerable at some time, so that's why they're universal programs. And sometimes they're more focused on a particular group that falls within the secondary prevention mostly, based on data and evidence. So those are through what's been identified in your community. Some examples include parenting programs that help parents build capacity, develop life skills, and increase their financial literacy. Volunteer tax programs that use volunteers to complete income tax returns for individuals with barriers to completing their returns. Ensuring people maintain their eligibility for income-based tax benefits, including GST rebates, which helps potentially reduce poverty and hopefully homelessness. And short-term counseling or support groups to help enhance an individual or a family's capacity to deal with challenges. We'll talk in detail more about the types of programs and services that are eligible for FCSS programming later in the presentation. Next slide, please, Melissa. Thanks. So why is prevention important? It's been proven through evidence. This actual explanation of for every dollar spent on prevention, we gain $7 to $12 is a really old statistic. And I'm thinking it's probably higher than that. But it does show the value that if we can get in and do preventive programs and services early on, we're going to save money. We're going to save in health, justice, all those different areas and those more intervention areas if we can have good, solid prevention programming. Now, the next slide I'm going to talk about is our provincial prevention priorities. And this is one area of the accountability framework that's caused probably the most stress and misunderstanding for FCSS. And so hopefully I'll clear some things out before the Q&As when we're talking, because directors have a challenge with this as well. So the accountability framework identified these 5 provincial social priorities. They're the key social issues facing the province currently: homelessness and housing insecurity, mental health and addictions, employment, family and sexual violence, and aging well in community. None of these are a surprise to any of you, whether you're on an FCSS board or being a city councillor. The priorities were identified based on input from FCSS stakeholders as well, but they were basically informed by trends and pressures within the ministry, data and information from several ministries within the government of Alberta. And they will be reviewed on a regular basis to ensure they remain meaningful and relevant. So while the identification of these priorities are important for our programs to be aware of and our municipalities to be aware of, it doesn't change the local focal focus of
It's frozen again.
that we do. All right, it doesn't change the types of programs we do. That these are just showing you.
You're
I think
okay.
you're back.
Am I back? Okay, I can never tell. It said my thing is unstable. I'm really sorry, everyone. So our programs and services in FCSS are intended to support these priorities, but the connection may not be a straightforward line. Here are some examples I've been using since the framework was established to help people understand this better. So FCSS is still to focus on preventive programs. Employment is a priority that many have struggled with on this list. So we won't be changing what we do to create employment programs. There's other areas of government to take care of that. But if your community has a youth program that helps young people build their confidence and leadership skills, things that make them more employable, you are working towards that prevention priority. If you're offering volunteer opportunities in your community that help people learn new skills, make connections, and develop experience within their employment journey, whether they're young people or at any age, that is also working towards this, this prevention priority. So this is how FCSS can work towards these priorities. So it's not always a straight line. We don't have to offer employment programs. We look at our preventive programs and what we do to support these prevention priorities. We know that these social issues look different across the province depending on your municipality, and local FCSS programs are best positioned to determine your own community's unique needs and to develop prevention programs and services to address them. It's important to remember that identifying these priorities, again, is not intended to change the preventive focus of your FCSS program, and that, again, we're helping to support these priorities as we go forward. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. So the framework identifies 6 prevention strategies. Next slide, please, Melissa. These are the preventive strategies that FCSS programs use to enhance protective factors for individuals, families, and communities. By using these strategies, FCSS programs and services help to promote well-being and build stronger and more resilient communities. So for your FCSS programs, really the strategies are what we really need to focus on. This is what should be reflected through your programs. And we have a long history in FCSS doing this within our communities. Programming that is intended to enhance protective factors for all those people in our community addressing social needs. So you can see the promoting and encourage active engagement in community, fostering a sense of belonging, promoting social inclusion, develop and maintaining healthy relationships, enhancing access to social supports, and developing and strengthening skills that build resilience. These all support, any programs that are doing these will support those prevention strategies I mentioned before. Okay, Courtney, I'm going to hand it over to you for governance structure.
Thanks. So moving on to the next slide that talks about the FCSS steering committee. So Judy told you that the FCSS accountability framework was developed by a steering committee. The framework formally establishes the steering committee to provide ongoing strategic oversight to the program. The committee formalizes the strong partnership between the Government of Alberta, the FCSS-AA, and key FCSS partners, including Alberta municipalities, rural municipalities of Alberta, and Métis Settlement General Council. The committee recognizes the important role that preventive programs and services provided through FCSS have in supporting government-wide prevention priorities. And the committee will play a key role in making sure the FCSS program is meeting the needs of the community and that the provincial prevention priorities continue to reflect the key social issues facing our province. We know that FCSS programming intersects with many government programs, and the steering committee will help to improve coordination, collaboration, and communication between both the Government of Alberta ministries, between government and the FCSS community. It's co-chaired by my Assistant Deputy Minister. She's the Assistant Deputy Minister of Preventive Community Services and the FCSS AA Board President. And it also includes other Assistant Deputy Ministers from cross-ministry partners, the FCSS AA Executive Director, and as I said, Alberta Munis, Rural Municipality of Alberta, and Métis Settlement General Council. And it also includes members of the FCSS Directors Network. One of the key roles of the committee is to review the provincial prevention priorities, and they must be reviewed at a minimum every 3 years in alignment with the 3-year grant cycle. So I've talked a bit about the partnership between the Government of Alberta and the FCSS AA, and I'll turn it back over to Judy, who will tell you more about the role of the association.
Thanks, Courtney. So the Family and Community Support Services Association of Alberta is a unified voice of the municipalities and Métis settlements participating in the program. And you can see on the chart how much money we get provincially, how much the minimum mandatory municipal contribution is, how many regions and how many municipalities and local programs are involved. The association's board representatives represent the 8 FCSS regions, with Calgary and Edmonton having 1 representative each, as they have a big majority of the population of the province. The board also has the Directors Network Subcommittee, where directors representing the 8 regions work together to support other directors and teams working in FCSS programs with learning opportunities, networking, and orientation of FCSS for new directors, as well as providing their experience and advice on how FCSS programs can be supported. I lost my spot to whoever will listen. So we're really good at advocating the FCSS directors. And so we try to do our part in supporting the board in however we can. We're the frontline folks, so we know what's happening. And so that's why there's representation on the board of a directors network. There's 16 of us sit around our directors network table, and 4 people sit on the association board for that representation, as well as having directors on the steering committee that Courtney was just talking about. The association is a trusted ministry partner and works in partnership with the province on issues that impact FCSS in Alberta. We've built a really strong, solid relationship and really trying to work together to achieve the outcomes that we want to achieve. The association holds an annual conference that happens every fall, and spring regional meetings. And the Directors Network meets once a year as well. And Courtney and I are heading to Grand Prairie tomorrow, because later this week we have Directors Network Conference where we do orientation for new directors to FCSS, as well as some learning opportunities for all the rest of us for the rest of the time. So the FCSS program is a partnership, and the governance of the program is a shared responsibility. Next slide, please, Melissa. That shared responsibility is between the province, the FCSS Association of Alberta, and municipalities and Métis settlements. Collaboration is the key to success of the FCSS program provincially. These three groups work in partnership to ensure Albertans have access to a strong network of preventive supports across the province. And each group has a role in this. So the relationship between the government of Alberta and the association is to build a strong collaborative partnership and work together to support prevention initiatives and in advancing other key ministry initiatives such as food security. So if you've been aware, there's been food bank funding, for example. And although FCSS doesn't provide funding for food, that's a basic need and is outside of our mandate, FCSS AA was seen as the organization to support the government in getting that funding out to community. And so there's an agreement to do that. So you can really tell that relationship has built up a lot over the years. The Association of Alberta, again, I think I've covered the next slide pretty much in what I've said. Yeah, I think we'll skip this and we'll go ahead to Courtney, who's going to talk about the FCSS program administration.
Thanks. So we've talked a lot about one of the key elements of the FCSS program being local responsibility for priority setting, resource allocation, and programming decisions that best meet the needs of the community. So in addition to programming, municipalities and Métis settlements also have local autonomy as to how they structure, administer, deliver, and manage their program to best meet the needs of the community. So there are several ways a municipality or settlement can structure their program. They can choose to operate alone as a single program, or often smaller communities will join a multi-municipality program where they pool their funding together and deliver that programming together. And that can be quite efficient when there's a number of smaller communities working together. It can reduce administrative burden for smaller municipalities, and it can also lead to really innovative programming serving diverse groups of Albertans. Another option is to transfer funds. Some municipalities choose to transfer some or all funding to other municipalities to deliver programming on their behalf. In terms of administration and reporting to council, the way a municipality chooses to administer their program can depend on the size, capacity, and community. Some municipalities have an FCSS department as part of their municipal government. These departments generally report to the administrative head of the municipality and are overseen by an advisory board that reports directly to council. Similarly, some FCSS programs are run by municipal management reporting directly to council. Others have a community services department, which encompasses FCSS as well as other community services the municipality provides, and typically the staff would report to a department manager. Finally, other municipalities operate their FCSS programs as a society or a nonprofit. And it's important to note that when a local program operates as a nonprofit, the grant agreement is still between the province and the municipality. So moving over to the next slide, and we'll talk about municipal roles and responsibilities. The regulation sets responsibilities for municipalities. The municipality is responsible for promoting and facilitating the development of stronger communities and ensuring that their FCSS programs meet community needs. These responsibilities include promoting public participation in the planning, delivering, and governing of the program and encouraging the use of volunteers. Programs must use resources efficiently and effectively, including ensuring that FCSS programs do not duplicate services that are ordinarily provided by another organization or agency. And they must ensure that programs are of a preventive nature that enhance the social well-being of individuals and families. Programs must also promote and facilitate partnership with allied service agencies operating within the municipality. This can include participating in things like interagency councils, joint research projects, planning committees, and information sharing. And although there are several different ways a local program can structure itself, generally the council, the board, and the FCSS director each have an important role to play to support the success of the program. So starting with municipal council, the council decides whether the municipality will participate in the program, and entry into the program requires a resolution from the council. The council also authorizes someone in the organization, typically the CAO, to act on the council's behalf to sign the funding agreement and other related documents. The council approves the budget and may wish to decide to establish an advisory board or a committee to provide oversight to the program. Councils may also decide which external agencies receive grants to deliver programming. And I mentioned earlier that many FCSS programs have advisory boards or committees that generally report to council. The board or committee works with the FCSS director on the annual budget and program planning that goes to council for approval. Some boards actually have approval authority and they don't have to go to council. Depending on the structure of the program, the board may also develop policy, approve grant applications, and staff recruitment. Generally, the board has a terms of reference that's often set through municipal bylaw. And as I said, not all municipalities have boards, some just report directly to council. The FCSS director is responsible for the day-to-day operations. They're the key contact and spokesperson for the FCSS program. They have regular contact with the province, the FCSSAA, other programs, and they really know what's going on in the community. They're relied upon to provide advice on what's happening locally, regionally, and provincially, and can relay important information to the board and council. And the FCSS director is also generally responsible for hiring and managing program staff. So moving on to the next slide in program management, it's critical that municipalities deliver preventive programs and services that meet the needs of the community. And to do this, they need information to inform their program planning. We know municipalities have a number of ways to determine what type of program and service the community needs. This can include any type of assessment, initiative, and data collection activity undertaken by local programs to better understand their community demographic and need and to inform their programs and services. Local FCSS programs are responsible for monitoring their program outcomes and completing regular program evaluation to ensure their programs and services are accessible, appropriate, and continuing to meet the need of the community. Municipalities are also responsible for submitting an annual report to the province that includes financial, program, and outcome data. And I really encourage you to share your annual reports and other information about your FCSS programs, because in many ways, FCSS is really kind of the province's best kept secret. It's so important that local programs tell their story and highlight the important work that they do. It goes beyond just reporting to the province, really sharing all the differences that your program is making in the community. And I spoke earlier about the wealth of collective experience within the program, and there's so much support available. My team, the FCSSAA, the Directors Network, they're all resources for local programs who need support with any of these elements. So please feel free to connect with us if you need support. And if we don't have the information, we'll make sure we connect you to the people who do. So I'm going to turn it over to Christy, who's going to tell you more about how municipalities can decide to deliver their FCSS programs and our office's role in supporting the program.
Thanks, Courtney. Okay, so this falls under the administration that Courtney spoke to a few slides earlier in terms of how programs and services are delivered in municipalities and Métis settlements. You can also decide whether to directly deliver your FCSS programs or services through municipal staff or grant fund to community-based organizations to deliver them, or a combination of both. When a municipality grants funds to an external agency to deliver programs, the municipality is still responsible for ensuring the agency meets the requirements of the FCSS program, and that includes including it in your annual report. In terms of kind of where things are at, if we're about 53% indirect delivery and 47% direct delivery, so it's pretty much split. Mostly larger cities do the indirect delivery, where we see rural municipalities doing more of that direct delivery. So next slide. So provincial roles and responsibilities. So we are responsible, so me and my team under the direction of Courtney are responsible for coordinating the steering committee that I believe Courtney spoke to earlier and establishing the provincial prevention priorities every 3 years. We also coordinate the 3-year grant agreements and make quarterly payments to municipalities and Métis settlements. We ensure program accountability and compliance with legislation, which includes establishing annual reporting requirements and reviewing annual reports. So we are right in the middle of annual reporting season with us bumping up against the deadline here tomorrow. So just want to put a plug out that my team and I we're available if you'd like us to take a look at your annual report before you submit, or if you're having any challenges logging into the system with roles or Maddie B, just feel free to reach out. I will pop our shared email address into chat here once I'm done speaking. And yeah, we're here to help. Any policy questions, system questions about anything, we're available. And if we don't know the answer, we can always coordinate you to the FCSS AA or Directors Network to get you the information that you need. So that's everything from me, and I'll hand it back to Courtney.
Thank you so much. Okay, so moving on to the outcome model. I mentioned earlier that the FCSS Accountability Framework has a streamlined outcome model, and it also introduces some key performance measures. So the outcome model describes the objectives of the FCSS program and shows the immediate, intermediate, and long-term outcomes that are intended to be a result of the program. So when you look at the program objectives, you can see that the program aims to increase the protective factors of individuals, families, and communities related to the provincial prevention priorities, strategically connects Albertans to address provincial prevention priorities, reflects community demographics and needs, is accessible, appropriate, and designed to serve Albertans across the lifespan, and fosters connectivity in participating communities. The intended outcomes start with immediate things like awareness, both in terms of Albertans being aware of and connecting to FCSS programming, and for FCSS programs to be aware of the demographic and needs in their community, evidence-informed practices to support Albertans to meet their needs, and of potential connections to other organizations and groups operating in the communities and in other communities. In the long term, the intended outcomes are for Albertans to have protective factors in place that enhance their resilience, for programs to be accessible and appropriate for community members, and for Albertans to be supported by their social networks within the community. So while these long-term outcomes are difficult to measure, we're introducing some key performance measures that will help demonstrate our progress toward the intended targets. So the key performance measures will include program outputs related to program participation, volunteer effort, community needs assessment, and partnerships. They also include data collected from a short list of outcome measures that will help us to determine whether an Albertan experienced positive change after participating in the FCSS program. And this data is typically collected through surveys of individuals who participated in programming. The measures will help us tell the story of how FCSS is making a positive impact on the lives of Albertans. And the key performance measures are not an exhaustive list of every measurable indicator that a local program may want to use to monitor and evaluate their program's performance. Rather, they represent a limited set of consistently reported quantitative data that provides information on the impact of the program at the provincial level. And we have lots of work to do to establish a new outcome model and the key performance measures. So this year, we're working with the FCSS AA, the Directors Network, and 3Hive Consulting to prepare to implement these key performance measures and reporting for the 2026 grant cycle. We know that municipalities and Métis settlements need time to implement these new tools. So we're going to plan to dedicate 2025 to training and supporting you to prepare for the transition. We also know that performance measures don't tell the whole story, especially at the local level. There's so many things at the local level that you can really get into detail, the things that matter in your local community. And as I said, we really encourage you to share those success stories. Please collect and share the success stories, unique and innovative programs and services, and details about your successful partnership. I'll turn it back over to Judy, who's going to tell you more about what programs and services are eligible for funding.
Thanks, Courtney. So in the regulation, it provides guidelines for what types of programs are eligible for FCSS funding. The regulation states programming must be preventive, enhance the well-being of individuals and families, and contribute to one or more of the following. And the list is on the screen for you. Help people develop independence, strengthen coping skills, and become more resilient to crisis. Help people develop awareness of social needs. Help people develop interpersonal and group skills and enhance relationships. Help people and communities assume responsibility for decisions and actions that affect them. And support people to be active participants in our community. Those are all things grounded in how we work in FCSS. It's important that programs are based on data, information, and research, and they are just not programs or events that happen year after year without a solid evaluation. The needs of our communities evolve and change, and every FCSS program needs to look at that in a planful way to develop appropriate programming. So what are we looking for? We're looking for projects that assist, a few examples of programming were already mentioned, but here are some other examples of programming that is eligible. Projects that assist communities to identify their social needs and develop responses to meet those needs, including raising public awareness about and coordinating responses to community issues, developing comprehensive social community plans and initiatives, research, community needs assessments, and strategic planning. Programs that promote, encourage, and support volunteer work in the community, including recruitment, training, coordination, and placement services for volunteers, and volunteer recognition. Services that inform the public of available services, including information and referral services, community information directories and websites, newcomer services, and interagency coordination and service collaboration. Programs that support skill development so people can function more effectively within their environment, including mentoring and leadership programs, individual, family, and group short-term counseling services, and parenting and healthy relationship development programs. Programs to support seniors to remain in their homes, including home support services, intergenerational programming, social connection and learning gatherings, and coordination of senior services and programs. And last, programs that promote the social development of children and their families. And this is kind of one of the foundational pieces of prevention, of primary prevention, and that's parent-child development activities, early childhood development services for children, excluding childcare, and support services for young children. So you can see it's pretty expansive what we can do in this area, programming underneath there. Okay, how to determine eligible programs. Historically, we had a list of programs, and it would say this program's eligible, this program's not eligible. And I don't think that's the way the FCSS provincial office wants to go anymore. We want people to be planful and look at the needs of the community and decide what programming is most appropriate for the outcomes to be achieved. So here's an example. I will make a statement. I forgot when we did this at the conference last time to say, and I got corrected, but this does align with the new accountability framework, but it's based on our current outcomes that we are collecting, our current outcomes model. But it's just to show you how you can work through the model. So one of the things FCSS is expected is to have projects that assist communities to identify their social needs and develop responses to meet those needs. This will help find out what your community needs are, or help you deal with any specific issues that your community is experiencing. So as we look at the FCS outcome model, the old one, sorry, that we're still using to report on, we see that our goal in this case is to improve social well-being in our community. And I'll just say that all of these older outcomes will align with the new model around resiliency and making data-informed decisions and dealing with the diversity in your community. So I think it's still a pretty good example. So you can see that it's to improve social well-being in our community. And then we look at the identified outcomes for that work. We then have to consider what sorts of activities, what programs and services we'll offer in our community that meets the needs and that can help us work towards one or both of those outcomes. So we look at what we can do, right? We look at what we can do to work in that area, what sort of things we can do. So when we look at this, this example I'm providing you, if we want to improve our social well-being, we want to ensure the community is connected and engaged and that social issues are identified and addressed. We can do this through a number of ways. We can do awareness campaigns and education opportunities, workshops. We can coordinate responses within our community and build engagement processes to tackle some of the issues. We can develop comprehensive social community plans or initiatives to tackle things and reach outcomes. And we can research community needs. We can do our community needs assessment and do strategic planning. And what tells us that we are achieving our outcomes is that you'll have social engagement. There will be an increased awareness of the social issues and understanding of social issues in your community. There'll be partnerships that work to address those, and there'll be a positive attitude towards others in community. So we're really trying to look at what we're trying to achieve based on all the research and the knowledge in your community and find programming that fits that eligibility around that. And it's so important that we see it time and time again. And in Edmonton, we see it with the programs that our FCSS program funds, that people want to keep doing what they do because they're comfortable doing that. And we're at a time and place now that we have to switch that. We have to start looking, our demographics are different, our needs are different, things are getting more complex. So it's really important that we take the time to figure out what is the best way and work with community members around that are facing the issue to find out what they need and how they can help design things. So we're gonna do one more example. So FCSS looks to provide programs that support skill development so people can function more effectively within their environment. So what activities do we do to achieve that outcome? What programs and services can be offered? When I see that outcome, I think of life skills, programs that build confidence, provide support. Depending on the age group or groups you're focused on, there's a variety of opportunities, mentoring and leadership programs, individual, family, and group short-term counseling services, parenting and healthy relationship development programs, volunteering opportunities. Those are just a few of the things that I thought of when I was working to produce this slide. But you need to look at if we've achieved those outcomes, we'll see that if we've achieved some of that what we're trying to accomplish through that work, you're increasing resiliency, you're increasing personal engagement, optimism, self-esteem. So people that are participating are telling you those things through your evaluation process. There's a trust and a sense of belonging in your community. You're seeing children and youth develop at an age-appropriate way, and there's increased skills and confidence. So we really have this opportunity. We always need to look at the end of programming and see what we've accomplished, and then use that evaluation that we do to adjust. There's always ways to make improvements. There's no program is ever perfect. There's always things to do and change. And through our evaluation processes, we should work towards finding ways to do things better and differently. I've lost my mouse. Here we go. Ineligible services. Some programs, services, and costs are not eligible. These include programs that have a primary focus on recreation, such as sports leagues, rehabilitative services, such as treatment or long-term counseling. This is where the intervention piece comes in. And program and services must not duplicate services provided by government or government agencies, such as home care. FCSS programs may not provide direct assistance, meaning basic needs, although the FCSS regulation does allow this in a extreme emergency situation, such as when during COVID, during the pandemic, that those changes are only as determined by the minister of the ministry. So that's not something that happens on a regular basis. It's got to be really different circumstances. The funds may also not be used for capital expenses, municipal taxes or levies, nor can they be used to provide honoraria or other payments to board members other than expense reimbursement. Recognizing that many communities do support some of these FCSS ineligible expenses, it's important to remember that this means that they cannot be included in your municipality's mandatory contribution. So a municipality's mandatory contribution must also meet the eligibility of FCSS, even if you over contribute. So I think that's, you know, FCS is such an important program in our province, and those of us that work in it are so proud of the work we do in our municipalities and our colleagues do across the province. This is such a special program, and no matter if you're in rural Alberta or remote or urban, all of the social issues that we deal with are essentially the same, just at different levels. So we really worked as hard as an association and a directors network group to really focus on the issues, not on the size of our community, to focus on the issues and try to work together to find solutions and to build strong prevention practices to help our government and our municipalities in the future make people stronger and more resilient, so they don't need all the intervention services that seem to be growing more complex and more needed lately. So anyways, we'll thank you for listening to us. That was a lot of talking. So we're open for any questions now that people may have, and we'll do our best to answer them. If you want to click your hand if you have a question. I can't see everyone, so I'm not sure. Everybody shy? Oh, Lucy?
Hi, good afternoon. I'm the mayor here for the Village of Clive. Really appreciate the presentation this afternoon. I will turn my camera on, but I am rural internet, so then you always, run that risk of that funny look in the window.
I'm city internet, and that happened to me during this presentation. So see how we're all alike?
Right? See, we all share. You did mention that one of the eligible services would be something like a short-term counseling. So would that be like a girls empowering group that's put on by like psychiatrists or psychologists, or what would that short-term counseling type services be? Because long-term counseling services are ineligible. So I think it would just be helpful to have kind of that clear definition. I know my board struggles with that one.
Okay. I'll start, and then Courtney, you can add anything. Most of the short-term counseling would be more solution-based focused counseling. So people come in, they have a specific need, and they walk away with some solid actions to take. And they may go back to that counselor, several times, but it's not like an ongoing, because if it's long-term, that's more in the mental health realm, okay, and that would be us interfering in that area. So I think solution-based focusing, drop-in, when we find that's more successful for men, drop-in counseling, because they don't have to make an appointment to go in, they can just show up someplace. Courtney, do you have anything to add, you or Christy?
No, I was just going to say like something like, youth empowerment, or where they're working together to build those protective factors, to build those skills is definitely something we would kind of consider in that short term. It's when it becomes really that treatment piece that we're not. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was great. That was easy. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions? No one else? I don't see any more hands. Melissa, do you see any hands?
I don't see any hands. I don't see anything in the chat, which is also an option if you wanted to type something. You guys were pretty thorough though, so.
Well, I think the best advice for anybody is if you have any other questions, you can always get a hold of Christy and her team, or send it into the FCSS AA office, and we can try to get an answer. I think I just saw, is
There's a
funding available only to municipal partners, or can entrepreneurs also submit applications? So the partnership with the province is only to municipalities. It's between the government of Alberta and municipalities or Métis settlements. Thanks, Patrick. Okay, I think we're good. So, okay, someone's having problems with logging in. They just put in the chat.
And
Okay.
feel free to reach out to our team too with those login. We have one of our staff, her name's Arlene. She's like the Maddie B whisperer. So she can always figure these things out, it seems like. So please do reach out to us.
All right, on behalf of Courtney and Melissa and Christy and I, thank you very much. Riley, thanks, Riley Council. Thanks for getting this initiated. We're glad you could join us, and we hope we answered everyone's questions. Thank you, everyone. It's nice to see people from across the province. It's so exciting. And if you know of any other communities or folks that join your boards later on that need this course, Courtney and I think we're going to do an on-demand performance at the conference. So, and the slides, Melissa, are they available?
Yeah, I was just going to say the slides and the recording will be shared with everyone, and they will also be on our website. I also wanted to encourage everyone to sign up for the FCSS AA newsletter, because we share a lot of program information and things going on with FCSS. So please make sure to sign up for our newsletter from our website. Thank you, Courtney and Judy. You guys were awesome as always. We appreciate everyone joining us, and enjoy dinner now, I guess. Take care, everyone.
Good night, everyone.